Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. We previously did a video on some of the heads on the ship, the bathrooms. That got a ridiculous number of views, way more than I expected. So today, we're going to take you into the ladies' room on the ship. Battleship New Jersey has a ladies' room on board. Not just one that the museum has made for modern guests, but one that's existed going all the way back to World War II. Let's go check it out. So this is the ladies' powder room, located right off of the wardroom in the base of the conning tower, across from a small arms locker. Why the heck did Iowa-class battleships have female bathrooms on board? And the ship had more than one at different points in her career. Well, consider the location of this one near the wardroom. The ladies' powder room was intended for use of officers' wives and dates when they come on board the ship for various fancy events. So oftentimes the wardroom would host parties or dinners right there in the wardroom. And so there's a female powder room right nearby for them to use. Women served in the Navy throughout most of Battleship New Jersey's career. And by the end of the ship's career, women were being assigned to duty on board warships. However, Battleship New Jersey was extremely old by that point, and the Navy decided to not go through and make a bunch of modifications to update the ship to have a mixed gender crew. Even on board modern Navy ships, men and women are segregated into separate berthing compartments with separate heads that they use. And the Navy didn't want to go through and do that work on a ship as old as this one and as large as this one. And it made sense because this vessel was decommissioned very shortly after the Navy started to integrate like that. We did have at least one female officer embarked on board for a short period of time. And when that happened, she was actually berthed down in one of the isolation wards in sick bay on third deck up forward. The isolation ward, normally used as a doctor's office, has beds in it, and it has its own bathroom with it, so that she could be separate from the rest of the crew, and there aren't too many other crewmen berthing down on third deck. Now we're on the starboard side of the ship, roughly amidship near the ship's boats. And this is a space that shows up on the booklet of general plans as the ladies' retiring room, as opposed to the ladies' powder room that we just came from up at the base of the conning tower in front of the wardroom. So I always knew about the female head up forward. Shows up on the booklet of general plans. I've walked past it 100 times. Knew it was there. I assumed that that was the only female head on board when the ship was in service. The other day, I was measuring an exhibit space to find out how much square feet was in there. And this exhibit space used to be a berthing compartment. And to do that, I was just using a ruler on the booklet of general plans where 1/16 of an inch is 1 foot. So I opened up my 1982 booklet of general plans, and the space I was looking at had a compartment notched out of the back side of it. I thought that was weird, and I traced the line from it to see what it read as, and it said it was the ladies' retiring room. So this perplexed me greatly. I went to the other booklets of general plan, and sure enough, in our 1950s booklet, our Vietnam booklet, and our 1980s booklet, it showed up as the ladies' retiring room. We do not have a World War II booklet of general plans, but we do have a modern reconstruction of one, and that does not show a ladies' retiring room in this space. In fact, the space doesn't even exist yet. The berthing space is just a square room. It doesn't have the extra room built out of it. So I don't know if that was an oversight during the reconstruction, or if the ladies' retiring room wasn't added until sometime in the 1950s when the ship was home ported in Norfolk and might have been hosting a number of events on board. You know, war-built ship, they're not really thinking about too many events. Anyway, having now confirmed that we had a ladies' retiring room on board in this position throughout most of the ship's career, I came up here to find it. And here's the door. And right away, can tell that something's not right. This is not a full-size watertight door. You can see that there once was a full-size watertight door, and at some point that was cropped out and a new, smaller one was put in its place. In particular, you can tell that this watertight door used to be the old style with the slow-acting dogs that you would have to wrench down individually. And this clearly isn't that, even though the tool is still there. So that tells me that this was an older style door, and this one was definitely added later in the ship's career. All right, so we come in here, and very clearly it is not a female retiring room like the 1982 Booklet of General Plans say. I've seen this sort of space before on the ship. There are a couple of these spread around the main deck superstructure that look just like this, with the diamond plate deck and the black light locker coatings and the yellow circle here and whatever this thing is. I'm not sure what that was for, but it shows up in all of these spaces. This is a decontamination locker. So at some point in the middle or later 80s, the Navy went through and added decontamination lockers for chemical warfare all over the ship. And this seems to have been just a pretty small scale thing. They don't update the Booklet of General Plans, they don't update the blueprints, and they don't update the damage control plates. So the damage control plates, some of them have stenciled in grease pencil where these new spaces were added, like crossing out what the old name was, or they've got a piece of paper taped over it saying that the new space is labeled as a decontamination station. And I believe that this work would have been done on the Iowa-class battleships as they are starting to deploy to the Persian Gulf in the late 80s and early 90s. Iraq is well known for using chemical warfare during the Iran-Iraq War, and this ship and soon after Missouri and Wisconsin were sent to the Persian Gulf to help protect neutral shipping in that area during the Iran-Iraq War and then later the Persian Gulf War. Modify these ships to be able to serve in a combat zone that has chemical warfare. They added decontamination stations like this, which are basically showers. You can come in and get scrubbed down if you're covered in chemical agents. And they added a washdown system. Modern ships have a washdown system built in many cases, and it's piping around the ship with sprinkler heads that if there is nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare conducted against that vessel, they can activate the washdown station from inside the ship, and it basically sprays sprinklers all over the outside of the ship, and it'll wash off any decontaminations. The Iowas were obviously built before the nuclear age. Although chemical warfare was a thing, it had never really been used against ships at sea. So they weren't built with any sort of washdown system. When the Iowas deployed to the Persian Gulf, they used their fire main system and basically ran fire hoses from the fire main and tied them to the railing all over the ship so that they could be activated in the event of requiring chemical washdown. So there's another instance of the Navy not wanting to spend money to bring these ships up to the modern standards when they were near the end of their active lives. So, because there's a new deck in place and insulation and everything here, there aren't too many remnants of what the old ladies' powder room would have looked like. This one was probably more for if there were events happening on the fantail as opposed to in the wardroom, maybe larger events. So this space is accessible from the main deck here. And if I had to guess, I would say that there was one or maybe two toilets here. We've got some remnants of the old plumbing in the overhead. So here we've got hot and cold water lines coming down. So maybe that indicates that there was a sink there. We've got a steam radiator over here. So the space was climate controlled. And interestingly, there was a porthole in this space. That's kind of surprising. I've worked on this ship for 3.5 years now, and I'm still finding spaces like this as I walk around. It's one of the reasons why I love this ship. I will never know every square inch of her. What are some spaces on the Battleship that we've covered that you would have never thought existed? Ladies' bathrooms definitely rank up there for me. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State and also from a number of businesses and private viewers like yourselves. If you'd like to continue to support our shipboard archaeology, there's a link in the description below for ways you can continue to help us. In particular, your support over the last year has allowed us to go from making 1 video a week to making 5 videos a week. And it's given us the freedom in our jobs to be able to go around and explore spaces like this. We really appreciate your continued support. And if you'd like to support us in another way, you could like, share, and subscribe. That way more people hear about us, and you'll get notified when we release new content. Thanks for watching.